So I interviewed two first grade teachers. One teacher teaches in a public charter school, and the other teaches in a Catholic school. One thing that I found interesting is that at both schools there were only one first grade classroom in each of the buildings. So, as it related to collaborative planning, it was very difficult for these two teachers to plan with other teachers because the content varies so differently based on their grade levels. So one of the first questions I asked each teacher was regarding guiding documents that they use during the planning process. Both teachers informed me that they use the Common Core standards to guide their lesson planning. The first grade teacher in the public charter school also uses a pacing guide, and both teachers use unit plans in both ELA as well as math to help guide their lesson planning. This is very similar to what I do in my classroom. DC Public Schools provide pacing guides so that all teachers know exactly where they should be at any given time in their lessons. We do use the Common Core standards, and we also are provided unit plans. The unit plans are created by DC Public Schools, and for ELA, they are very detailed and give you all of the information that you need. They want all teachers to kind of be on the same track in their unit. And so they are provided with a pacing guide as well as a unit plan for ELA. As it related to math, most teachers did not have a specific unit plan. The teachers are using Eureka Math, and so they do not necessarily have unit plans, but Eureka is very detailed and it tells you exactly what to teach on a daily basis. Another question asked was, do you plan daily, weekly, or by unit? Both teachers said that they planned by units, but then also weekly. So they take the unit plans that are provided to them and break them down into weekly plans. And that's exactly how I do it for my classroom. Um, the unit plans are provided for us, but it's just so much easier to take those unit plans and break them down weekly and daily to kind of guide your lessons to show what you're going to teach from one moment to the next. The next question I asked was if they plan their lessons based on units, how did they adjust for future plans based on assessments?
So I have to decide when and how I'm going to go back, and if I need to reteach, then I'll do that. Or if I need to do something because um, it's not meeting the needs of the advanced students. So then, I do that within the day. So like after a particular lesson, like I'll just make notes, or even during the lesson, if I can, I'll write some notes. So then, that might be something that I do that particular day for the next lesson.
Okay.
Or if it's the way that I presented the information, if it seems like they're just not getting it, like if they're not where I thought they would be for that particular question that I'm asking, then I go back and see what I need to do differently.
Okay. Both teachers said that they do have autonomy as it relates to the activities that are taught, but they do not necessarily have autonomy with what is being taught. So both teachers said that they have to stick to the standards and to the skills that are being taught at any given time, but they are free to modify the lessons based on their students' needs. The teacher who works in a Catholic school, she did note that the main focus is that she always teaches the standards and that her children master those standards. So she's teaching to mastery. So she's kind of free to use her judgment to modify the lessons, extend the lessons, shorten the lessons based on the needs of her first graders. My next question was, how detailed are your lesson plans? And what do you include in your plans?
Objective that the students are supposed to learn by the end of the lesson, what standard is supposed to go with that, some type of activity that they can do to practice that, and some type of assessment to let me know that they understood it or not.
Okay. The Catholic school teacher said that her plans are very detailed, but they are based on what she needs in a lesson plan. So she basically says she includes her big idea and her essential questions. That's her starting point. And then she includes key details of what she wants the children to get out of the lesson. She includes all the skills that will be taught and then examples of what those skills are. So, for example, if she's teaching diagraphs, she makes sure she has examples of the diagraphs within that lesson plan so that she doesn't have to wing it. She also includes the differentiated activities for her different groups for her specific learners to meet their needs. She also includes whether the activity will take place as a whole group, small group, one-on-one, etc. I asked both teachers if there was a feedback loop that takes place to help improve their lesson plans. Both teachers said that no one gives feedback to their lesson plans. But then I also realized that neither teacher turned their lesson plans in. So that may be the reason why they do not get feedback. Teacher one did say that the feedback that she does receive comes from classroom observations. There's an academic team as well as sometimes the principal that comes around and does observations. And if they come into the classroom to perform an observation, feedback is given based on what was observed. Teacher 2 said that there was no one that provides feedback to her based on her lesson plans, but she does use informal feedback that she receives from her students based on the responses from the lessons and her observations. At my school, there is no feedback loop either. Lesson plans are not turned in. Unit plans are turned in. We plan collaboratively with our grade level peer. We plan out our unit and we turn that unit into our principal or vice principal, but we do not receive feedback from that. So it's just something that's turned in, but no feedback is given. And I must say the only time I do get feedback is when I have observations as well, whether it be informal or formal. I think that's an area that probably needs to be improved, because how do teachers know if what they're putting in their plans is effective if no one's looking at the plans ahead of time, and that the only time that plans are looked at or even noticed is when they're coming in for those observations. Another question I presented was, how do you measure student learning? Teacher one talked about her use of daily exit tickets, class assessments. She uses her student work samples to measure student learning. End of the unit assessments, beginning, middle, and end of the year formal assessments by means of maps and dibbles. She do classroom observations during her lessons, during centers, progress monitoring by means of running records to check her students' reading levels and fluency. Teacher 2 noted observations, performance assessments, writing and work samples, as well as her students' oral responses as ways to measure student learning. I use all of these different methods to measure my student learning. We do beginning, middle, and end of the year assessments as well. We do informal assessments in the classroom. We do end of the unit assessments. And I think this is very important so that you know exactly how to guide your instruction. Because if you don't know how the children are performing, you're not going to know where to take the lesson in your future plans. Based on the information I received from my interviews with both teachers, I noticed that the information was very similar, and I think that has a lot to do with them being self-contained and being the only first grade classrooms in their buildings. Their schools appear to be rather small. I think both teachers did a great job with the way that they planned for student success. I think both teachers did a great job with the way they measure student learning with both formative and summative assessments. Both teachers used a variety of ways to assess student learning and use that information to guide student future learning.